Okay, guys, I've gotten a few calls and emails with some questions, and I wanted to clarify a few things for you as you start your first workbook exercise for week 5. First of all, for the resources. For Ben's V, he gives you places where you can go and look for the answers of questions, specific questions that he's asking you. Don't feel like you have to use those resources, but you need to use something comparable. For instance, if he's giving you grammar resources to find the answer to a grammar question, then use whatever grammars you have available to you. Use whatever grammar you used for your intro class, and then if you've picked up a different one, then use that as well. So you're going to use those grammars to find those types of answers, and the same thing with syntax references. So I'm fine with you using different resources than what he suggests. Just make sure that there are scholarly resources in the respected in the field, and then you'll write out to the side what resource you used and what page you found the answer on. If you used one that he recommends, then circle that one so I'll know where you got it from and write whatever page. But if you use a different one, just write it out to the side where you found your answer. And as far as I told you in the announcement page, make sure that you answer every question, that you leave nothing blank. Now, sometimes in the for further thought, he will ask sort of hypothetical questions, but you don't have to give a response to that. But if there's a blank line, there better be an answer written into that workbook. And again, feel free to write into the margins any additional work maybe that you've done that has contributed to your answers. Now, speaking of that, for your translations, I've given you a rubric in the Blackboard shell that you're going to use as you're doing your translation. Ben's V is not going to ask you about every step there. He's just going to sporadically ask you to parse a certain verb. He may ask you sporadically about a textual variant or something like that. That doesn't mean that you don't do it except when he tells you. No, you do it every time because that's part of translation. So when you're translating this passage, you are going to be looking up every variant. Most of them you're going to realize are not significant at all, and you don't even need to mention it. But sometimes they are significant, and they're going to make a difference in how you translate the passage. So use your rubric that I provided for you and work through those steps even if Ben's V doesn't ask you about those things. And you don't have to tell me everything you did, but I'm expecting you at this level to be practicing those steps as you're becoming a skilled translator. Okay, I had some questions about accent marks. So I want us to look in the 1 Samuel passage together and let me demonstrate the significance of these accent marks and which ones you need to be looking at, because Scott's guide probably gives you more than what we are really going to deal with. He explains every single accent mark, and for our purposes at this level, for narratives, there's primarily 3 that you need to be looking for. So let me show you, for instance, look in 1 Samuel chapter 1, starting at verse 2. Now we know this story. We've been introduced to Elkanah. He's the husband here that we're talking about. And now we're going to find out some additional information starting at verse 2. Velo shate nashim. You see that phrase there? To him, 2 women. So there's 2 women to this man. Now you look at the little accent above the nashim word, which means women, okay? That is called a zakiv katon. It's like a colon mark, those 2 dots above the word. That is like a zakiv katon. That is a significant accent mark. So what that tells me is that part of the phrase is a unit. To him, there were 2 women. Okay, and then the sentence continues, Shem achat hana. And then you see above hana another zakiv katon, another accent mark, another pause, if you will. And so that little phrase, the name of one or the name of the first is Hannah. Okay, and then we pick up again, Vashem Hashanit Panina. And then under Panina, you see the Athnach, that little, what would you say, that little arrow without a stem, that little, I don't know, what do you call that? Cone, I guess you would say, pointing up. That is an athnach. That is a more significant pause. So that'd probably be a good place to put a period. The Zakiv Katon is a pause, but more like a comma pause or a separating pause. The athnach is more of a stop. Okay, so you see that this information was broken down into segments. He had 2 women. The first one was Hannah, and the second one was Panina. So that gives you an introduction to these to 2 of the main accent marks. Now, those are the most common. Almost every sentence is going to have both of those. Now, the ravia is another mark that you're going to see often, and let me show you where one of those occurs. Look down in verse 11, and what do we have here? Vatidor, neder, vatomar. And you see above the vatomar that little star-looking sign. That's a ravia. It is another point of emphasis. You should pause there and see what that's accenting. So she's made a vow saying, and you pause, and now we're about to see the vow that Hannah has made. So that's a little introduction to the accent marks. I hope that's helpful for you. Be noticing those so that you know where to make those pauses and those stops in your translations. Let's see if there's anything else. As far as the Masorah, at this point, I don't use the Masorah unless I have a Kativ Kareh. Remember in your readings, you should have learned about the Kativ Kareh whenever you have the vowels of the pointing of one word over the consonants of another word. That's really the only time at this level that I'm going to be using the Masorah. So that's all for your purposes that I would be concerned with. So that should cover the Masorah and the textual apparatus. Also, one other additional question to clarify. For those of you that had me in Introduction to Grammar, we use the term vav consecutive to show past narrative. Ben Zvi calls that vayiktol. So just be aware that vayiktol word means vav consecutive. All right, y'all keep those questions coming in, and let me know if there's anything else I need to clarify, and I'll be happy to email you or put a post or do another video.